then we had JB and Karen Angle. She went in Joe's locker room, and he basically said he was going to kill her husband, that sort of thing, and she was appalled that he would behave in this manner. She'd screwed him out of the belt or something like that.
It was the classic Russo segment of the big scary guy threatening physical violence against the tiny little woman.
That's right.
And he's the hero.
Yeah. So then we had Karen meeting with, I guess, Cage's crew, and she attempted to seduce AJ Styles, and she was basically telling everybody that if they helped, or if they won and became Kurt's partner, they would eventually get a title shot.
Yes.
Which AJ believed, and apparently nobody else did.
Well, she was trying... Okay. Karen walks in, the first thing she says to Christian was, how would you like to win the four-way tonight, be Kurt's partner, and retain the tag team belts at whatever the next pay-per-view is? And Christian's response was, what's in it for me? So Christian apparently had no interest in this four-way until he was offered a shot at the world title.
No,
so
he doesn't care about the tag belts.
He did not care about the tag belts at all.
And why should he?
And that was the whole point of this segment.
Yeah. So, Karen Angle's really great, by the way. I don't know if I've never ever mentioned that before, but she's been around for... Vince is over there blowing his nose. Been around for 4 weeks now, and she's already better than every girl they've got in WWE. So, thumbs up for her. So, then she went up to Sting and said, I have a deal for you, blah, blah, blah. And she told him to win the belts for the children. And he said, if you want to do something good for the children, change your dress.
Yes.
It was, I guess, too low cut.
Sting did not approve of her skimpy attire.
For Sting. And it's actually a funny line. So we had the match. It was AJ, Christian, Sting, and Samoa Joe in a four-way where the winner became one half of the tag team champions with Kurt Angle. Angle and Karen were out there watching. This match actually went 16... Actually, longer than that. This match went... well, it came back from the last commercial. It had already gone 60 minutes. So it was probably a 20-minute match. 1936. Thank God for Larry. This match went 1936, which would be the longest Impact match since that last match that went the entire length of the show. And thank God.
Yeah.
That actually made this show... That's one of the reasons this show was good, was we actually had a main event that was like a pay-per-view caliber main event. So they went 20 minutes. It was pretty good stuff. And let's see what happened. We ended up with two guys outside, and then Sting and AJ ended up in the ring. AJ went for a springboard, ended up crotched, and then Sting put him in the Scorpion Deathlock, got the submission. So Sting is now Kurt Angle's partner. And the show, I thought the show ended, but afterwards, Angle got in the ring, and him and Sting had a stare down, and then they all raised each other's hands in victory. Like They were all friends now. And everybody cheered, and I thought, wow, well, we had a good match and a sportsmanlike finish of some sort, and we've got a new team here and all this and that. And so then all of a sudden, Pac-Man had to come out with Ron Killings, and they beat up Sting, and we're about to...
Tag him,
put the NWO on him, when Angle came back and cleared the ring. So, anyway. And then we had Borash interviewing Sting and Angle. Sting said he won the title, and it earned a chance at revenge against Killings and Pac-Man.
Right. Now, if you recall, what happened was he won the title, and then he got jumped by Killings and Pac-Man. That's why he needs revenge. So Sting, in a week... has forgotten the order in which things occurred. He has forgotten that he did not care...
It's the Vince Russo time machine.
He did not care about Killings and Pac-Man until after he won the titles.
But now he claims he won the title, and it gives him the right to get revenge.
Yes. Meanwhile, they on the show, they being Sting and Kurt Angle, they were scheduled to wrestle Jay Lethal and Abyss. And they announced this at the top of the program, and I thought, Jesus Christ, why in the fuck are Jay Lethal and Abyss teaming up? And I had no idea. And as Sting and Angle were doing this promo, they mentioned that Angle would be defending the title 3 times, including against Jay Lethal and against Abyss.
I didn't even get that till just now.
I forgot. This show was 3 days until the pay-per-view. I totally forgot that Abyss was going to be challenging for the TNA World Heavyweight Championship.
No, I'll top you.
You forgot until right now?
No, in the main event, not quite that bad. In the main event, when Abyss pinned Kurt Angle, I sat there with my jaw agape, and I said, why the fuck did Abyss just pin Kurt Angle? And I sat there, and I scratched my head, and I could not for the life of me fathom why this booking decision was made.
and it finally hit me that they are, in fact, wrestling at the pay-per-view.
In 3 days. Yeah, I figured out a whole
I watch this
40
show
minutes
every
earlier.
week and take notes.
And take fucking notes and then go talk about it.
This show has such little impact on my life
Yes.
that I had no idea why this occurred.
Even last week, the show we thought was better, it wasn't that good because we would have remembered Abyss was wrestling for the title then. This company blows.
The opener was Sting and Kurt Angle versus Pac-Man Jones and Ron Killings.
Actually, I must interrupt you here. Pac-Man Jones, of course, is on the show. He is most famous for 2 things. 1, crime, 2, football. So this pay-per-view aired on the opening Sunday of the NFL season, which is, I know it's not a big deal for you, but it's a big deal to a lot of people. So the opening package of this show showed a football field, and they played the Monday Night Football theme. They asked us if we were ready for some wrestling, and then they showed a bunch of wrestling packages as if the guys were playing football, and basically this served to remind football fans who may have tuned in to see Pac-Man that they were in fact missing a game to watch this fucking show.
Yeah.
Stupid. Fucking stupid.
Alrighty then. Sting and Kurt Angle versus Pac-Man and Ron Killings for the TNA Tag Team titles. You'll recall that Jim Cornette said he knew what Pac-Man's contract stipulated, but it was never made clear. There were rumors that on the Sunday pay-per-view when Pac-Man debuted, it was said that he could not wrestle or something. I don't know. I never heard this, but this is what people claimed. So anyway, he did this match, and they never explained whether he could wrestle or not. He just didn't. He refused to get in the ring. Ron Killings worked the entire match. He finally made a hot tag about 3 minutes into the match. I should note that Karen Angle came out, and I don't even know how to explain all of this about what happened. Basically, Pac-Man pinned Sting.
We'll cut to the chase.
Now, here's what happened. Karen was out, and Sting told her to go away. And then the ref told her to go away. She didn't go away. So, hell of a ref, by the way. So then she started yelling at Sting, and he made a gesture for her to please leave. And she took a bump as if he had slapped her. And this caused Angle to go tend to her. And then Sting got in the ring and was going to face off with Pac-Man. But then Angle came back in and gave him the Olympic slam because he'd not hit his wife, but Angle thought he had. And then Pac-Man pinned him. So the question is, why?
Why did Karen lie to her husband?
Well, why did Karen pretend like Sting hit her?
I don't know.
I thought she spent the entire last show trying to talk Sting into being Angle's friend so that they could be tag team partners.
I thought so as well.
So what we had was a blatant bait and switch in a tag title match that went 4 minutes, made absolutely no sense whatsoever, and I guess that's it.
And they missed the pin.
And they missed the finish, that's right. A failure on every level.
This was a fucking disaster of a segment.
This, and keep in mind,
This sucked.
This was Pac-Man's wrestling debut. It was the opener. In this match, bereft of logic. In this match that had something that made absolutely no sense and a pin that was missed. And I paid $39 or $29.95 for it. This was offensive to me.
Yeah, it should have been. You should be pissed. This is such bullshit they make us watch. It is... It's an assault to us that we have to endure their program.
It is a form of rape.
That's a little strong. Can you rape the eyeballs? I feel like my eyes have been raped.
They rape my soul and my wallet.
Yeah, they rape your wallet, definitely. But, yes, and I don't know. I just don't know.
This was shit.
Sting waved his arm.
I still want to know why Karen took a phantom bump.
Karen took a phantom bump.
And basically cost her husband the title.
Yes, Karen screwed her husband and Sting for the tag titles, which they both fought so hard to win.
In which she had convinced Sting to help her husband become champion.
Sting to help her husband defend them. And Angle, no one ever explained to Angle, your wife's a bitch, she's lying.
No, they did.
Watch the tape.
They did, but he didn't believe her. This is coming up later.
But the best part of all this was we mentioned the announcers need to go. Sting waved his arm. Karen took this big dramatic bump. Don West said, Sting hit her! Don West, you fuckwad. Sting didn't hit her. No one on earth thinks Sting hit her except Kurt Angle and you. You should also quit.
I
Go back to selling baseball cards, fat ass.
I am slightly entertained by the character of Don West, who is the dumbest man in the world.
He is a retard. No, you know what? That's not fair.
That's seriously.
I've seen retards with drool hanging out of their mouth who are way smarter than Don West.
That's seriously his character, where he's the dumbest guy around.
He cannot possibly dress himself. There's no way. He's got to have a crew of like 3 people helping him.
Don't approve of him, but gotta trust him. This alliance has a purpose. This partnership is only temporary. Yeah.
AJ and Tomco versus Super Eric and Kaz versus LAX for the tag titles. Basically, of course, Eric Young left during this match, came back out as Super Eric, and won the match. And at that point, we cut to commercial. When we came back, AJ and Tomco were screaming to Cornette that they had lost due to outside interference. And Cornette said, "What do you mean?" And they said, "Well, Super Eric ran in." And Cornette said, "Super Eric was in the fucking match." And they said, "No, Eric Young was in the match. Super Eric ran in. It's a run-in. It's outside interference." Now, I would like to preface this by saying that these angles would work if there wasn't fucking outside interference in every goddamn match that they do.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so Cornette's like, "Well, what do you want me to do?" And they said, "Well, why don't you ask him if he's really Super Eric? And if he says no, then that means there was outside interference and we get the belts back." And so Cornette said, "Fine, get the fuck out of my office." And that was that. So, show sucks. Cornette was in the ring after commercial with AJ and Tomco. Said, and I quote, and I want to drop with this, somebody, please. He said, "I want to apologize ahead of time to all the TNA fans for all of the stupidity going on this television program."
That was the exact words that came out of his mouth.
With passion, he said this. And I would like to note that when he said, and I quote, "I want to apologize ahead of time to all the TNA fans for all of the stupidity going on this television program," everybody cheered.
They thanked him for his apology and let him know it was appreciated and necessary.
Demanded Eric Young come out and reveal his true identity. So Kaz came out with the belts, and then finally Super Eric appeared and refused to reveal that he was Eric Young. And Cornette said, "Listen, don't fuck this up. I don't want to have to do this." And Super Eric said he had no idea, and so Cornette said, "Fine, Eric and Kaz, you were stripped of the titles." And the heels began to celebrate and grab the belts, and Cornette said, No. I only said that they were no longer champions. I did not say that you regained the belts or anything of that nature." Basically, he said that the belts were now held up, and he would decide what to do next week.
No champions were named. There was no resolution. This is just Kaz thinking Super Eric was stupid. The heels thinking Super Eric was stupid. Super Eric denying that he knew who Eric Young was. Meanwhile, it says on his chest in big letters, EY. What a terrible babyface.
I just figured somebody had to have watched, like, ECW and saw him kill Miz and Morrison and thought, how can we kill our belts more? I've got an idea.
Well, if that was their goal, they found an amazingly creative way. I would not have thought of this.
No, this takes too much.
A man winning them and then surrendering them rather than admit he is who we all know. And by the way, this is not like when Dusty Rhodes was the Midnight Rider and was facing suspension if he wrestled or had been suspended and we could be punished worse. No. If he takes his mask off, we all say, okay, it's Eric Young. Great.
Dumb. Sting, Booker, and BG against Kip James and Robert Roode. They had a match. Let's see what happened here. Booker got that tag. Some stuff happened. Booker went for the spinneroonie.
This recap rules.
Well, it's like, if I can't remember this, I'd have to read my notes
word
for word to remember what happened. So it was a failure of a segment.
There was the heat on BG with a backcracker, which is kind of funny. And then there was dueling chants of we want Sting, we want Booker as to who would get the hot tag. The Booker fans won.
Now I remember why I don't remember this.
There was a ton of stuff going on.
No, because it was stupid, remember?
I do. I remember the stupidity.
Matt Morgan ran in. Let's see, hold on a second.
The referee, Booker got the hot tag. He made a sloppy, out-of-control comeback. The referee was distracted by something, and in ran Matthew Morgan.
Storm got a beer bottle.
Okay.
Matt Morgan ran in and hit him with a bicycle kick. Both the referee and Booker T missed the run-in by the 7-foot man. Booker got so mad
that Morgan interfered. Not just that he interfered, mind you. This was not mentioned, but he was mad not just because he interfered, but Matt Morgan also saved him from being hit by a beer bottle.
Right.
He was still mad. He was mad at Morgan, and he was so mad that Matt Morgan saved him from being hit by a bottle and helped him win that he challenged Sting to a match next week.
That's what happened. Booker was mad at Morgan, so he wants to fight Sting. I know I just repeated what you just said, but I had to repeat it to myself about 8 times in a row to make sure I had it straight. So Morgan pissed off Booker, and so he's going to wrestle Sting.
But
right?
we got to go backwards. He pissed off Booker T because he saved him from being hit by a beer bottle.
Yes.
And kicked the man with the beer bottle.
Right. Otherwise, the beer bottle would have broken over Booker T's skull.
Sure.
So Booker T should be thanking Matt Morgan.
But instead he was mad.
Okay.
And how mad was he?
He was so mad that he turned to his right and challenged Sting. What?
And the best part, as always, the announcers had no idea what was going on.
Well, okay. As Booker was yelling at Morgan for saving him, Tenay said, well, you can't blame him. Matt Morgan was in the wrong. What? Is he
well,
wrong?
you see, he interfered in TNA in a match.
He interfered in a wrestling match? Oh, no. What travesty has befallen total nonstop action wrestling?
The fucking, it's the you know.
This show is fucking awful.
It's such a bad programming.
I've liked this company for a day.
I just wish like real professional Hollywood writers, I hate to say that because they fuck up everything in WWE, but I wish like a real Hollywood, like a, one of those continuity editors. I wish one of them could just get his hands on one of these scripts and just read it with like a highlighter.
I don't know. I'm tired of it. It's just, I can't say I'm tired of it because this is new. This is a new kind of stupidity where one man is so angry at the guy who saved him that he challenges a third man. Seriously.
Yeah.
This will never make sense.
So anyway, what is there next week? Booker T and Sting?
Booker T and Sting, and also Kurt and Joe.
Free. 1-1, everybody. 1-1.
This show got a 1.0.
Yeah, it did.
It's on the way down.
It's on the way down. They've gone from 1-2s to 1-0s. And I'm going to laugh next week when it's another 1-0. Fuck you, TNA. So I throw that one out there. I shouldn't say that. Fuck you, Impact. Impact, fuck you.
You can suck my dick.
There's a pay-per-view this Sunday. Cornette called out the egotistical 8. No one knows why they're egotistical, by the way. It's a mystery.
Well, the funny thing is, he named them egotistical before he had put them into the group.
Yeah.
So he had this name, and then apparently he went out in search of men with big egos.
Yes. Morgan, Billy Gunn, B.G. James, James Storm, Booker T, Robert Roode, Sting, and Awesome Kong. Cornette said everybody had been wanting to know who their partner was except Sting, so he was going to draw names now. He said they were going to draw one team now, one team at the top of the hour, and 2 at the pay-per-view. Even this has to be complicated. Yes. They can't just draw fucking teams. No. They can't just draw them all tonight. No. They have to set... You know it's going to be one now, one later, one of the opening of the pay-per-view, and then one later in the pay-per-view. Yeah. Everything has to be as complicated as possible. Now, if you all recall, it's the Lethal Lottery. It's random. It's deuces wild. Yes. Okay. In this completely random draw, the first team was Sting and James Storm. Holy cow! Who have been feuding for weeks. What are the odds? Who would have ever thought? I cannot believe such a thing has happened here on this television show. Storm said that he wasn't Sting's friend. He didn't want to be his partner. They got into a brawl. And so Cornette added that the teams drawn tonight were going to have matches later with their partner. Yeah. So it's going and then in 3 more days, they're going to team up and fight for the World Championship. Yes. That's dumb. Sting and Storm in a no DQ match. This is the stupidest tournament I've ever seen. Without question. It blows everything else out of the water. With established teams like Christian and Rhino, and also AJ and Super Eric, and then random draw teams where everyone, well, we'll get into this, but yes, just keep in mind, a team was drawn, it turned out to be 2 guys who were feuding, they got into a fight. That was the segment. Yes. Just remember that, everyone. Just remember that. Barash interviewed Sting about the Storm match. So they were going to beat each other so bad that they would end up friends, and then they would win the belts together. I swear to God that's what he said.
Well, in Sting's defense, I've seen recall once Tito Ortiz saying that he is always a better friend with someone after they had a good fight.
Well, that's true. That's true.
So,
but
they were going to work out the differences here man to man, and then they would move on.
That's true.
So I will forgive this segment.
That's also the real world. This is the fake world of wrestling.
It did not make me
and
want to see
you're telling me
it.
every fucking person on this show is going to fight each other and be friends afterwards?
Well, that's never happened before, actually.
No. Then we had the, let's see.
Christian and Rhino were cutting a promo.
That's right. Team 3D walked up. I have no idea what happened, except LAX gave Christian a border toss into the wall.
And that looked like it sucked a giant cock.
Yeah.
That looked like it sucked. Okay. Christian was cutting a promo. It was a very generic promo. He's great and they're going to win. Team 3D came up. Christian made some fat jokes. They went back and forth for a while. They got into a big, giant fight. And they fought forever. And ever. And ever and ever. I'm getting choked up just thinking about it, how long this battle was. And somewhere in here, Don West mentioned, these teams may not even fight on Sunday. Well, then what the fuck are we watching them fight for?
Just because.
Now, of course it's TNA. Of course the random draw will have them fighting, but that annoyed me so greatly. Just, why plug a match and then tell fans, if you buy the show, perhaps you will see it. There's a chance you'll get this.
Because they are fucking retarded.
They're dumb. It would be fun.
To not ever watch TNA again?
Yes, actually. That's such that every time you keep shooting it down because you're an asshole. But I was going to say is...
Why do you blame me for them sucking?
Because you make me watch it.
Because we have to do this.
No, we don't.
Yes, I'm afraid we do.
No.
Okay? The least they could do is be good. This is not my fault they're bad. I've said this a million times.
Care.
It's not my fault
It's
I do the
irrelevant to
same
me, the
rant
quality of
every
the
week.
show.
It's not my fault we do the same rant every week. I'm not the one writing this goddamn show.
Well, what I was going to say was, let's start a wrestling promotion, and to book it, we will get some crackheads. And we'll see if they can book a better product than total nonstop action.
I guarantee it. So then we had the Sting and James Storm match. Crowd brawling. The best part of this match, it's a no DQ match, okay? They're brawling around ringside. Storm falls down by the steps, and there's a beer bottle there, okay? A glass beer bottle. I've never been in a bar fight or anything like that. But
come on now.
If I found a glass beer bottle, I'd make the most of that. As did James Storm.
Like Bass Rutten would.
What did James Storm do with this glass beer bottle? Did he break it over Sting's head in this no DQ match?
Did he break it on the stairs and use it as a dagger?
No, he drank some and spit it in his eyes.
No DQ!
What the fuck? So, they did a bunch of stuff, and Jackie tossed a chair in. They did a ref bump. They did a scorpion. They did a chair shot with a kick out. They did a wacky splash and a kick out. It was basically WrestleMania finishes on Impact.
Here in the middle of this Impact show.
Yeah, now, if this were the main event, fine. It wasn't. This was top of the hour.
No, top of the hour in a match.
A random match with two tag team partners.
With dirt, nothing on the line.
Just fucking a splash through a table was a kick out. And finally, no, it wasn't kick out. He just didn't pin him. But he finally hit a second death drop for the pin. And
yeah, so when he did a death drop, put him through a table, and then hit another death drop for the win.
Yeah.
I also like...
It was a good match. Just why the top of the hour was it like this?
I don't know. But I love Sting, but he has the worst top rope splash of anyone who's ever used this move with any regularity. And he did it twice here. He missed it once and he hit it once. And both times he's awkward, flying through the air sideways, arms waving. That amused me.
And we had Kip James on a promo about how he was the man who made DX. Not Triple H, not HBK or anybody else. This was so lame.
And the gist of this was he spent his promo talking about guys on another show.
Yeah, and even Chris looked at him like, seriously now. Or it was Borash, I think, looked at him like, they're so much cooler than you, Kip. Cornette with the second random drawing. Called out the rest of the egotistical 8. First name was Matt Morgan, so 3 guesses who his random fucking partner was. Yes, Kip James, who he's been feuding with.
What a feud this has been, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Let's recap. Matt Morgan, the babyface, jumps Kip for no reason in the hallway and kicks his ass. Kip comes back for revenge and fights in Cornette's office.
Yeah.
Now they're a tag team.
Yeah.
Did I miss anything?
And they have to have a match, which...
Oh, that was a poor idea.
In which Mike Tenay said, and I quote, "You almost would have expected this." You don't fucking say, Mike.
Yes,
We almost would have expected this.
So yes, they did 2 drawings in this show. Both times, the guy who drew the first man drew a name that was the man he was feuding with, and then they got into a fight.
Yeah.
Wow. Didn't Vince Russo once say he hates predictable television?
Well, maybe he's trying to learn booking.
What a dipshit.
So they had this match, Morgan versus Kip, and I will say that it was better than I expected. It was still no good, but it was better than I expected. And Morgan won with a jumping kick clean, and that was that.
And now they will team up on Sunday.
Yes.
And nothing can make you want to see 2 guys team up to watch them fight.
Yeah. So, and the best part was there was another part of the show. I don't know who he was talking about, but one of the announcers was talking about maybe it was Sting or it was James Storm and Sting. Maybe it was that match, but one of the matches, the announcers were like, they only have to get along
to win 3 matches.
Yeah, for something like that. And I thought, no, because when they win, they're the champions. They have to get along into perpetuity. They have to get along forever. I hate this company.
Well, it's awful. It's terrible.
Then we had B.G. James being asked who he'd like to have as a partner. He basically said, Awesome Kong.
Yeah. Okay, so let's review. Okay, there are 4 potential teammates here left. B.G. James, Awesome Kong, Robert Roode, and Booker T. Booker T is going to be Robert Roode's tag team partner because they're feuding. We all know this. That means B.G. James, via the random draw, will be teaming with Awesome Kong. So he came out for this promo and just conveniently plugged that, yes, I want to be Kong's tag team partner. So good news for him.
Just ridiculous. So I can't wait till Sunday to see this company further fall apart.
We're going to end the show. I can't say plugging. We're going to explain what's going to happen on the pay-per-view Sunday and how unbelievably awful it is. It's terrible.
Borash interviewed Steiner and Kurt. They don't like each other. They almost got in a brawl. And then Petey cut a promo and separated them. Said they needed to be friends for 10 minutes to beat Joe. Because, of course, earlier in the show, what did we have? We had them both saying, we'll team up tonight to beat Joe, and then we'll only have to worry about the 2 of us at the pay-per-view for the title. Even though that makes no sense, because I don't know how they're going to get the title. Since it's a fucking tag match here in the main event on Impact. So, with all that said, we had Nash and Joe versus Steiner and Angle, and what happened? Why, they got the heat on Kevin Nash. They wouldn't let him tag in Joe.
So, if I understand you correctly,
please explain.
They wanted to hurt Joe. They wanted to take out Joe so he cannot compete Sunday, and they're going to do this by beating up Kevin Nash, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And Nash tried to tag, and they were repeatedly stopping him.
Right. They didn't want Joe in there where he could hurt him. This was the dumbest show ever.
They ended up pitting Nash.
Yes.
Joe eventually just got in.
Yeah, Joe came without a tag. He was so tired of not being hurt that he came in to get hurt and killed them. And eventually they dumped him out, and then Kurt Angle grabbed Kevin Nash and hit the single worst Olympic slam there's ever been in the history of pro wrestling, in the history of the Olympics, in the history of slamming things. Nash didn't go up at all. No. Kurt had to totally lift him. He sort of got him up and then fell backwards. And then he put on his straps, and then Scott Steiner pinned Kevin Nash.
Yeah.
I thought the plan was to hurt Joe.
No.
What did they accomplish by pinning Nash?
I don't know.
And the ref counted 3, and Kurt Angle turned around and he was mad. And I thought, well, of course Kurt's mad. Their plan was to take out Joe. And then they said, Kurt's mad because Scott stole the pin. What?
He was angry that the legal man pinned the legal man.
What bullshit this is? Why would he care? Why would he be upset that Scott pinned the guy? Well, he should be upset that Nash got pinned so they can't hurt Joe. But why would he care that his team won?
This is a bad program.
This was the dumbest show ever. There's no question.
So, then we had the beginning of the tag team tournament. For those of you that have forgotten, there was a bullshit angle with the tag titles. Kaz and Eric Young won, but Super Eric interfered. And Super Eric refused to reveal he was Eric Young, and so the titles were held up. They had a tournament. There were established teams.
There were 8 established teams that had to fight to qualify for the tournament, and then 8 singles guys who just got put in the tournament. So it was better to be a singles guy than one of the established teams.
No, because the single guys were put into a random draw, And
Utterly random, by the way.
utterly random.
Left to the fates.
As it turned out, in this utterly random drawing, everybody got teamed with who they were feuding with. Except BG James, who got who he wanted. Amazing.
Funny how that works.
James Storm and Sting, who are feuding, randomly got teamed together to face Team 3D in a tournament match here. It was a very below average match. I give it a 1.5 stars.
Generous.
They did a bunch of stuff here. Sting and Storm couldn't get along. Storm was drinking on the apron. The finish saw Storm get drunk and start doing something. I don't know. Sitting on the turnbuckle. This made the opponents so mad, that being Team 3D, that they turned their backs and allowed Sting to throw James Storm through a table. And then Devon pinned him. So, I guess, I don't know what's going on here.
We saw a 4-minute handicap match with Sting against the Dudleys, wherein the finish was a fourth man being pinned on a very wacky finish with a table way too far away, and James Storm barely caught it, and it looked like it sucked.
So James Storm and Sting both didn't give a shit about this tournament.
Correct.
Why were they in it?
Well, I don't know, Brian. All I know is, so far, we were 1-for-1 in Deuce's Wild match, and the random team lost. So they're 0-for-1.
Yeah. Robert Roode and Booker T against Rhino and Christian.
Yes.
Another random draw. Booker T and Robert Roode, who are feuding, randomly were teamed together.
Coincidence.
Also could not get along. The wrestling was good whenever there was no storyline involved regarding the partners not getting along. Roode wouldn't tag, which of course made for a stupid match because Christian's being beaten on by Robert Roode in a tag match, and we're supposed to get behind Christian even though it is technically a one-on-one match.
Yeah.
Because Roode will not tag.
Right.
Roode was beating on him alone, and Christian was helpless. Hell of a babyface right there. So, finally, Booker got the blind tag. Rhino got in. Bunch of stuff. Rhino ended up goring, I guess, Roode for the clean pin. And then, after the match, Booker raised the hands of Rhino and Christian, and they were all celebrating. And then he went outside and grabbed a chair and snuck into the ring and laid out both guys with chair shots, and that was the end of that. He's apparently turned heel. I don't know who's a heel and babyface.
At this point right now, I have no earthly idea who's a heel and babyface in this show.
No.
It's impossible to tell almost all the time.
But apparently Booker T is.
It seems likely. This seemed like a heelish act against people the crowd generally likes, which often means he's a heel.
Why would Booker T not get pinned if he's just going to immediately turn heel?
Who the fuck knows?
Because they don't know anything. 2 stars I gave this.
The as you noted, the in-ring stuff was fine as long as you turned your brain off.
Then we had Kip James and Matt Morgan, the next random team, who also happened to be feuding, what a shocker, against LAX. So Morgan and Kip actually got along a little better than some of the other teams, but of course the end saw Morgan accidentally kick Kip, and then Homicide pinned him. This match went like 2 minutes. It was pointless. I give it a 0.5 star.
Sure.
Hector was out there with LAX. Kip was horrible. And that's
the end of the story.
There was a great spot where Homicide hit a big dive, and they showed a replay. And, of course, they chose to show the replay right when he got out in the apron to do a second dive, which they ended up missing. Not the stupidest production gaffe on the show, but a pretty dumb one nonetheless. Pointless match.
It was. It went 2 minutes, and at least we had a team that got along until the finish, so it meant something when they collided.
This was bad.
Yeah.
AJ interview about the match versus BG and Awesome Kong, which is coming up later. Then Kurt suddenly came up and wanted to know if AJ was seeing his wife. AJ said no. Angle said, listen, I'm the boss, and you didn't check on me when my neck was hurt. I demand to know, are you seeing my wife? And AJ said, I'm not answering that right now. Take care of your neck. And he stormed off. So apparently, AJ turned babyface the moment that Super Eric appeared in the locker room several weeks back to be his partner.
I believe you're correct.
That's the babyface turn.
There was an implied build to a babyface turn with the whole Karen deal, and then he just is a good guy now.
Yeah.
As far as we can tell.
No one knows.
Regardless, he wrestled next.
Super Eric and AJ against Awesome Kong and BG James. Now, keep in mind that one of the main reasons, in fact, the main reason that the goddamn tag belts were put up in a tournament in the first place was because of Super Eric.
Super Eric screwed AJ, basically.
And they put this dipshit back in the tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Classic. They faced Awesome Kong and BG James. This was not as bad as I'd expected because Super Eric and AJ are not that big. It was a little bit wacky to see Awesome Kong approximately 1 inch bigger than the diminutive AJ Styles.
Well, the first thing they did was she locked up with AJ, who then powered her back to the corner.
Yeah.
Bad.
What an encounter. So,
and then she's fought back, by the way. Did she, hit a back fist of doom or a powerbomb or lariat? No. She squeezed his nuts.
Yeah.
She was not even China. She was just any other girl at this point.
It's not completely absurd, but she was far from the monster she's been prior to this, and no one really cared all that much, really. Heat on AJ, and then BG ran wild, and
they did some stuff.
Actually, it was who was it? It was Super Eric.
They got the heat on AJ.
Eric was doing his Superman routine, and so he body slammed Awesome Kong onto BG James. Body slammed her. Eric wiped her out with a dive. AJ, the finish was him going for a dive, and he slipped and fell on his face. And then he just laid there like a dead man.
Yeah. This was a blown spot that he sold.
Basically.
Sure. Yeah.
He just decided, well, I'll just pretend like I'm hurt. And then BG picked him up, and AJ small packaged him for the pin. And AJ was actually hilarious after he fucked up, but everyone gave him hell, chanting, "You fucked up," that sort of thing. And luckily, this was the end of Awesome Kong in the tournament. We did not have to see her in there with any giants. But what a waste of her first match with men this was. She was just there.
She accomplished nothing.
2-star match.
There was nothing memorable about it.
And her team lost.
Let's review. AJ Styles is not the tag team champion because Super Eric screwed him.
Yes.
So now they are partners, and they are best friends.
Yeah.
This makes no sense. However, I'm okay with it because they have great chemistry together because, as noted, they're the two biggest geeks in the company.
Yeah.
I would actually be fine with them being a regular team now. Let Tomco be a cool badass off by himself, put AJ and Eric together, and have them be the wacky geek tag team. In this company, they can be a heel or a face. It don't matter. They'll just do their cool spots. They'll do some wacky comedy. Everyone will go home happy.
Yeah.
I'd be fine with that idea.
Then we had Rhino and Christian versus Team 3D. Christian and Rhino were selling the chair shot from Booker, which was at least good. So, fans were bored. Match was boring. Christian got a hot tag. No one cared. Then they cut him off.
Rhino.
Rhino tagged it again, and there was a 4-way. Johnny Devine ran out, gave his kendo stick to Bubba. Rhino gored him, but Devine took the ref, and then Bubba hit Rhino and Devon with the stick, I guess, and then Devon pinned him. And I give it 2.5.
Wow, really? It wasn't horrible, but it was nothing.
It wasn't much.
This was
they had some time. The wrestling was not bad. It was a 2.5-star match.
This was an Impact match, only we got to see what happens during the commercial break.
That's what it was, yes.
Yeah.
2.5-star Impact, top-of-the-hour match.
With a wacky screw job finish.
Yeah. There was a great line where Don said Bubba was 370 pounds. Keep in mind they had to be below 300 about 2 weeks ago or 2 months ago, and he looks exactly the same.
He's put on. Well, it also implies he's put on 75 pounds in a month.
Yes.
Good for him. I forgot to mention this, by the way. We need to recap. Let's go through how those Deuces Wild, the random tag teams, did. Kip James and Matt Morgan, how'd they do?
They got in a fight and lost.
BG James and Awesome Kong.
They lost.
Booker T and Robert Roode.
They got in a fight and lost.
Sting and James Storm.
They got in a fight and lost.
So you're telling me then the 4 randomly put together teams all lost?
Yes.
What the fuck was the point of putting them in there in the first place then?
Maybe they'd win.
Well, they didn't. This tournament sucks.
What was the point of putting them in there? What was the point of this tournament? What's the point of any of this?
I don't know. I honestly don't know.
AJ and Eric versus LAX in the other semi. Eric and AJ, as noted, friends, baby faces. When LAX came out, I don't know why this made me laugh. They came out and the announcers are like, Hector sure is working for that LAX. They're so close to winning the belts. And I thought, they won one match in 2 minutes that Hector was not involved in, and that's it.
That's all he's done for them.
How close are they really to the belts?
He helped them beat Matt Morgan and Kip James.
They have to win 2 more matches here tonight.
Tards.
Yeah. In fact, they won that match because the other team fucked up.
Indeed.
The partner kicked his friend,
right.
Or his other partner, or whatever the fuck, and that's how they won.
Right. That's the influence of Hector Guerrero.
But yeah, Hector's really helping these fuckers tonight. They're real close to the belts. So, did some stuff, big dives. They actually got heat on Hernandez, believe it or not.
Yes, AJ Styles and Eric Young working over Hernandez.
Yes. He did his electric chair onto AJ's nuts. He got the hot tag.
We know this because AJ immediately screamed, "Oh, my nuts."
Yeah. Broke down into a 4-way, and the finish saw AJ trying a small package, but Hector ran in and turned it over, and AJ was pinned. Now, first off, AJ's shoulders were up, okay?
By a large degree.
In fact, they weren't even... His lower back, I'm not even sure was on the ground.
He may have been standing.
He may have been erect. But I just want to throw that word in there.
That sounds gay.
So anyway, yeah. The other question, and I've always... This is a question I've always had about this fake sport, and maybe I just have to accept that this sport's fake. You give a guy a small package. Somebody turns it over.
Mm-hmm.
You're trapped.
You can't get out.
You cannot release the man.
No.
Yeah.
Well, if you think about it, your head's hooked and his head is hooked, and your leg's grapevine his leg.
Yeah, but you're holding on to him.
He's also holding on to you, though. Everywhere you've got him, he's got you in the exact same point. I'm not saying you couldn't escape. I am pointing out that everywhere, like I say...
This is like turning over the figure 4. Why would you not just release the hold?
Well, that I don't know. But at least in the fake world of wrestling, if you accept that a small package is a tight hold that someone cannot escape out of...
It is. It's an amateur hold. You could actually pin somebody with a small package in an amateur event.
Okay, when you turn a small package over, the other guy now has the exact same hold on you in the exact same place with the exact same leverage.
No, it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work.
Well, I'm sorry it doesn't work for you, Brian, because it's true.
I'm going to small package you
Okay.
and have somebody turn it over, and I guarantee it's useless. It just doesn't work.
Brian,
It can't.
when you put a small package on someone, you hook your left arm over their head, right?
Let's look at it this way.
Yeah.
Hold on a second. Look at it this way as well. Let's say I punched you in the face.
Okay?
Okay?
Yeah.
And you're cold-cocked and on the ground. I get on top of you. Somebody turns the pile over.
Okay.
I still have the advantage, okay?
Yes.
Even if you're on top.
Okay.
All right, if AJ Styles, or if whoever had the pin, AJ Styles is in position to take this man over in a small package, he's got the advantage.
Right.
I don't believe that turning it over suddenly transfers the mojo into the other man.
Okay. When you put a small package on somebody, they're not knocked out. Unless you're doing something wacky, but more often than not, they're doing fine. They're physically fit. They're not worn down. They're not ready to be pinned at all. But you've surprised them, and using leverage and technique, you can hold their shoulders to the mat for a count of 3. Now, if someone turns it over, now they have leverage and technique on you.
So just let go.
But they've got you, Brian. You're missing the point. They have your arm hooked, or excuse me, your head hooked, and both legs hooked, just like you had theirs a second ago.
Well, can you just keep rolling?
You could try. If you can pull that off, then great.
This is just stupid. The point is his shoulders weren't down.
That is true. Now, we've often criticized referees for just count the pin. And the referee did here, so good for him. We're yelling at AJ. Get your goddamn shoulders down.
Just lie flat.
Just lie flat.
But he couldn't. He was hooked by the other man, Vince. Don't make me start this show over again.
Why not?
I'm going to jump forward here to beer money. They had a segment about how awesome they were and what great baby faces they were.
Yeah, James Storm was talking about how he, more than anything else, he loves his daughter and his dog.
Yeah.
And they're both talking about how hard they've worked to get where they are, and Bobby Roode just wants to be remembered as someone who entertained the fans. I was watching this thinking, what the hell is the point of this?
You know what they're going to do is eventually, maybe even at the pay-per-view, turn him babyface. But
after this show, I was convinced that's where they're going.
Well, I mean, if they do, shouldn't you have done that and then aired all of these? Maybe it's just me. But they aired a month's worth of of beer money promos, putting them over as baby faces, and then they lost the belts.
And
hell of a build.
And how did they lose those belts?
It's amazing that WWE spends 4 months or at least 4 weeks building up the return of John Cena to pop a buy rate at a pay-per-view. And TNA spends 4 weeks building up beer money to take the belts off them on free TV.
That is an excellent point.
It's ridiculous. And let me get into this match right here. First off, we had Matt Morgan against Robert Roode. Now, as the match was starting, they were out there talking about the problems that Abyss and Morgan were having. Now, serious question. How many matches do they have in their entire careers together where they were not having problems? Maybe 1? 2, perhaps?
Sure.
So you give them 2 matches where they're friends, and then you start the dissension between them.
Well, that's the classic Vince Russo TNA move. Every time a new team gets together, they must immediately start fighting.
But it's just, how can you not figure out that no one cares?
Because they're retarded.
How can you possibly care about 2 people fighting when they never got along in the first place?
To answer your question, Brian, I don't know, but it's nothing new.
So they had this match, and I'm just going to read this sentence that I wrote right here, and then we'll dissect it almost word for word. Roode got the heat after Jackie cut off Matt Morgan as the referee was distracted on the ramp. Roode got the heat after Jackie cut off Matt Morgan.
Indeed.
Jackie cut off Matt Morgan as the referee was distracted on the ramp.
The ramp.
The fuck is the ref doing out on the ramp?
Well, apparently James Storm and Abyss were brawling.
The ref is all the fucking way up on the ramp.
The ref decided to stop doing his job.
So Jackie can cut off Matt Morgan.
So 120-pound Jackie can get off the 7-footer.
Yeah. So then, okay, fine. If you're going to accept that happens, fine. But then, like, about a minute later, James fucking Storm attacks Matt Morgan in front of the ref.
This was not the best segment of the show.
They had to distract the ref for Jackie's interference, but not James Storm.
No.
And later on in the same segment, Jackie got involved again in front of the ref this time.
Okay, now here's the funny part, everyone. Think of everything we've said about this match in this segment.
It gets dumber.
It's going to plummet downhill right now. The dumbest thing I've ever seen, maybe.
So Roode, one of the dastardly heels, gets sent over the top and blows out his knee. Match grinds to a halt. Trainer comes out.
Literally, in this case.
Rang the bell so that Morgan won via ref stoppage. So, at this point, I'm like, okay, so now you're telling me that the heels are going to go into their tag title match of the pay-per-view with a major physical disadvantage against 2 giants.
Right.
Stupid.
Oh, yeah.
Gets worse.
Oh, yeah.
So, out come Jay Lethal and Consequences Creed, who decide now is the time to cash in Money in the Bank. Now, when CM Punk took advantage of Edge's disability to cash in Money in the Bank, he did kind of come across as a cowardly pussy in some ways. He was taking advantage of an injured man. You know what I mean?
Yes, you're correct.
But he still came out and he won in like 30 seconds.
That is an important part of the story, yes.
That is an important key to this tale. So, these 2 baby faces come out to, in a cowardly manner, take advantage of an injured heel, and in a 2-on-1 match, win the tag team titles.
That was their plan.
That's goddamn stupid enough.
Okay, so it's stupid thing number 2 now.
Now, what happens is, the match ends up going about 8 to 10 minutes.
They could not put the single man away.
It was 2-on-1.
Right.
Advantage baby faces.
Yes.
And it took them 8 minutes. 8 minutes to win the tag team titles.
And James Storm got the heat.
He did.
Creed went up top. They were kicking his ass as the fans chanted, "Let's go, cowboy," because he was bravely... And he never protested, by the way.
No.
He stepped right up to the plate and said, "I'll fight you 2 fuckers." And they were kicking his ass. The fans were chanting, "Let's go, cowboy." Creed went up top.
Let's go, cowboy.
Let's go, cowboy. Creed went up top. Robert Roode, a legal participant of the match, who was only out because of an unfair, cruel leg injury, fought through his injury to struggle up to the top rope and shove Creed off.
Yes.
Or crotch him. So, through this heroic act, Consequences Creed was cut off. James Storm continued to valiantly fight one-on-one.
1-on-2.
Well, it was 1-on-2, yes. Storm managed to tag in. They did the beer money spot, and he tagged back out because that's all he could do due to his injured leg. So the match continued for a while.
The longest match on the show, by the way. I swear to God.
It went to a commercial.
Yeah.
It went through a commercial. So the
I would also like to note that Don West, during this match, said the following lines, which I am not making up. First, he says, they realize they have a 2-on-1 advantage right now. This is what he said of the babyfaces. And then later he said, you know they were looking for a situation like this. What fucking pussies?
Yes.
That's what he
now,
said.
There's more. There is more. So after Consequences Creed finally made the hot tag to Jay Lethal, who jumped in, ran wild for a bit, and then got cut off and James Storm hit his finisher. Punked. Now, he hit the Eye of the Storm. Lethal kicked out. There was a kerfluffle. I think Jackie got involved.
A kerfluffle?
There was a much to do, much going on. Behind the ref's back, Jay Lethal picked up the briefcase.
Yeah.
He hit James Storm in the head. The ref turned around, and Lethal got the pin.
The babyface used a briefcase and hit the handicapped heel in the head with it for the pin.
Now, if you took this exact same segment and could somehow reverse polarity so all the heels were babyfaces and all the babyfaces were heels, this would have been the best segment ever.
Yeah.
But it was so completely ass backwards.
Yes.
All of it.
Yes.
Every step of the way.
The best was afterwards. After the match, the front line is in the back, and they are celebrating like they have accomplished this great feat. They're jumping up and down and celebrating with their titles like they have won them in something other than a completely underhanded fashion. And Devon goes, let's just let them stay here and enjoy their moment.
Okay. Now, I cannot knock this, because if you just happen to turn in right then, you would think, wow, this is pretty cool. They at least, as stupid as the match was, they did their damnedest to make the title switch seem important and cool. They tried to make it seem like a big deal and a positive thing that Creed and Lethal were the tag team champions. So, yes, the match was retarded. Retarded. Literally retarded. But they did their best to try to make it seem like a big deal. They did not go to the back for, I don't know, a Shark Boy promo. They made this seem important. So I cannot fault them for the segment afterwards. But the Roode Morgan match, followed by the tag title switch, was the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
God, this place is stupid.
Speaking of stupid,
Tenay interviewed Bubba and Devon in Japan.
From Japan.
How do we know they were in Japan? Well, they were at a desk and there was a flag behind them with a red circle on it.
Yes.
That's how we knew.
That's how we knew it was from Japan. And our non-wrestling fan friend was watching this for about 8 seconds and said, are they supposed to be in Japan?
And we said yes. And cackling ensued at this cheap set.
Legit shoot cackling. So they talked via satellite. They talked about winning the IWGP tag belts, which they had there. And they got the news about the singles matches being turned down for the pay-per-view, and instead it would be a 4-way. And Bubba was surprised and I guess upset. He wanted to know who booked this, and they said Jim Cornette. And they said, well, that's okay. And they started talking. At this point, TNA got, I guess they wanted to prove they were in Japan.
Prove it was via satellite.
Prove it was via satellite.
And by the way, what a hokey-ass satellite feed this looked like.
Yeah, so they wanted to prove they were in Japan via satellite, and they did this by making their own equipment look shoddy and cheap.
Yeah, the satellite malfunctioned. We couldn't hear them. They cut back to the announcers. Don looked like a Muppet. He looked like a Muppet, didn't he?
Yes. Tenay even more so. Don West was the befuddled Muppet. He was,
Who are
I
the
guess,
two Muppets that are sitting up in the theater?
Statler and Waldorf?
Yeah.
No, bad comparison because those guys had their act together. Don was Fozzie Bear, just perplexed, looking around confused. And Mike Tenay was Sam the Eagle, pointing sternly at the camera, saying, we'll be right back.
And then we cut to Bunsen Honeydew.
You haven't got to use that in a while, have you?
No. Bunsen Honeydew interviewed Sting about the 4-way, and Sting told him to stop stirring up shit. He said they were going to move forward. They then gave Steiner a mic, who cut a nonsensical promo.
Morgan versus Hernandez. Hernandez beat the fuck out of Matt Morgan for a while, just destroyed this giant man. Crowd was totally into it, and then Morgan cut him off, and immediately placed his head against the ring post and hit the carbon footprint into the post. They played this off like a giant injury angle. To the
brain
point,
trauma, Taz said. Lovely.
Taz would suggest the possibility of brain trauma. Morgan hit this footprint, and Hernandez tumbled to the floor, not moving. And Morgan rolled into the ring and then whispered to the ref, like, I think I killed him. And the ref went outside and held up the big X. And they came down and they took care of him. And they had, as they noted, his best friend Homicide there. Not noting that the last time we saw these men on TV, they were trying to kill each other.
Bitter blood feud.
Bitter blood feud. So it was...
I just love this idea of, let's try to make this one look real. Well, what about the rest of the shit on the show?
Yeah.
That's all fake?
We want to tell the crowd, and this is another classic Vince Russo move, everything else you've seen on the show is fake, but this is real.
Sure.
So...
Which is funny, because still no one believed it.
Yeah. So, well, they did not get the goodbye song, at least. But it was a big deal. They went through many segments of just tending to him and carting him back to the backstage and getting him on an ambulance, and Hogan telling someone to call his wife because she was not watching.
I was going to say, she had the DVR on.
So it was no one believed it anyway, and I don't know if you could really make them believe it, but if anything, and this is going to sound perhaps retarded, if anything, they did too good a job of faking it. Because from Morgan whispering to the ref, I just killed him, to the ref running out and turning right to the camera, holding up the big X sign, everything just came off too perfectly realistic.
Yeah.
So, but it was not terrible. I mean, they established that, they're still tag champs, and Morgan has taken Hernandez out. Hernandez will be out for who knows how long, and then we'll come back and get revenge. And this is a simple story that's been told 8 million times in wrestling. It usually works great. So, huzzah. I do not think they teased a fight. They teased a hate fuck. They teased violent, angry lesbian sex.
Morgan
we didn't get that either.
Morgan Red against the Machine Guns. Lowest rated segment on the show, 0.65. Matt Morgan as the fighting babyface who is a heel with his diminutive partner against the guys they never promote. It just didn't work. Match was fine.
I actually...
Red and the Machine Guns were awesome.
When Morgan cut his promo and announced they had made me pick a partner, and so I'm picking this guy, and Red walked in, I thought, that could be a really fun team. Because Red can do the entire match, hot tag Morgan, he can come in and throw the small man around, that could be fun. And you know what? It was a fun team. But I knew from the start it was doomed, because everything in TNA must turn to shit. Mm-hmm. Wow. So
Then we got the stupidest match of all time. I hate this match even more today.
You're not calm down?
Jesse Neal, first off, if you took Matt Morgan and you had him do this exact same gimmick, he would be a babyface.
You would think.
He's a man defending the titles all by himself.
Yes.
He outsmarts everyone.
Yes.
He's a one-man wrecking crew.
Right.
In TNA, he's the heel.
Right.
So then they put in Jesse Neal with him. A goddamn idiot. Team 3D even told him, did you not see what happened to Red last week?
They warned him about exactly what happened.
Jesse Neal's then explaining, I want to go out there and become the tag team champions. And they're like, well, how are you going to do that? And he said, by beating you. So my question is, if he beat Team 3D, he would officially become the tag team champions?
I suppose.
Well, where's Hernandez? What is going on here?
Hernandez is apparently dead.
Makes no sense. So, Jesse Neal goes in there. Of course, Hernandez or Morgan fucking turns on him. Morgan beats the crap out of him. They go to commercial. They come back. Jesse is screaming at Morgan, saying he wants more. Matt Morgan gets threatened by Hulk Hogan, goes back to the ring. Jesse Neal attacks him. Matt Morgan beats him up again.
Yes.
Lays him out again.
Right.
What a fucking goofball that Jesse Neal looked like on this show.
Yes.
Because these people don't know what they're doing. This is like, no matter how good the shows are, with rare exceptions, they have absolutely no idea what is a good guy and what is a bad guy. This is like the first stories ever put on stone tablets did this right. Okay? This is not something new. This is not a mystery. What constitutes a hero and what constitutes a villain? These fucking people can't figure it out. How can you not figure this out? If you've ever read a book, if you've ever read in your life a single novel, if you've ever watched a single fucking movie, this is not rocket science. This is not even arithmetic. This is the most basic story in the history of man. Genesis. This is all the way back to the fucking beginning. It's not hard to figure out. God, these people are stupid. Every fucking show, there's got to be the heels overcoming the odds. There's got to be the babyface made to look like an imbecile. Every fucking show. Stop that. You wonder why people think your fucking show's so stupid. All right, go on.
So after Morgan laid Jesse Neal out, who should make the save but Shannon Moore? And he came out, sent Morgan packing. The two Mohawked men stood up, congratulated each other, made funny faces and hand gestures. The crowd chanted Mohawk.
Why would these guys even be a team?
They have the same haircut.
Okay, but at least Shannon Moore was smart enough to realize Matt Morgan's going to fucking turn on me. Mm-hmm. Last week, he didn't even fall for it. Jesse Neal's too goddamn stupid.
Right.
What do these guys have in common? Certainly not IQ.
The haircut.
God, annoyed me.
Someone looked around and said, hey, we have two Mohawk guys, let's put them together. So, did we even mention the Hall and Nash ran out and they had a brawl?
And by the way, does this mean that Jesse Neal and Shannon Moore are going to be challenging Matt Morgan
by himself
in a handicap match?
God, I hope so.
Again, you fucking morons. Yeah.
But, yeah.
Then we had just the segment of a lifetime. Matt Morgan and himself came out to face Generation Me. Matt, you'll recall, is a heel. So he stormed to the ring. He took on both these men, 1-on-2, all by himself. People were cheering him. They were chanting Morgan.
This was exactly the kind of thing someone like Goldberg would have done.
Sure. Gee, I wonder if Russo just sat back there and went, why are they cheering Matt Morgan? I don't get it.
I suspect he does not. He's not aware that it makes the show look stupid.
So he laid them both out. He grabbed the mic. He said he'd warn Hogan that if he didn't tell him who his partner was going to be at the pay-per-view, there was going to be bloodshed. He was about to boot one of the Bucks' heads into the post when Samoa Joe ran out, beat the shit out of him, laid him out with the Muscle Buster, and bailed. So Matt Morgan's laying dead in the ring. Wolfpack music hits. Out came Hall, Nash, and Eric Young.
Mike Tenay said something along the lines of, remember a few months back at that one pay-per-view where Kevin Nash was in Feast or Fire to win a tag title shot? The answer is no.
Well,
if you had quizzed me, which wrestler on the TNA roster won a tag team title shot in Feast or Fire 3 months ago, I would have had to list them in alphabetical order. I never would have remembered Kevin Nash.
No one remembered until like 2 days before the show. And then when they did remember, they decided they had to do something about it. So this is what we got, everybody. Nash found his briefcase hidden somewhere in his house. He brought it to the show. He opened it up. Tag title shot. He pinned Matt Morgan. 1, 2, 3. The Outsiders are the tag team champions in 2010. As noted, like when this happened,
a week ago,
Admin Tony sent me a text that just said, Hall and Nash are a tag team in 2010. And I responded, they're the champions. And he responded, N-O, about 17 exclamation points. Yes.
And then he did not watch.
This is why people think this show is so stupid.
Now I'm going to ask a question, and I know there is no good answer, but I feel the need to ask anyway.
Yes.
When you say TNA remembered they had this tag title shot lying around, and so they had to do something about it, why did they have to do something about it?
Because they remembered.
Okay. Honestly, that's a better reason than I could think of.
This was not supposed to be what happened here. It was supposed to be Matt Morgan and a partner against Inc. Now it's the Outsiders versus Inc.
That's going to suck.
Hall and Nash against Shannon Moore and Jesse Neal. I swear to God that's the match.